Hey guys, we have another card to predict this week, and this one is UFC Charlotte, UFC on Fox 27. It's a pretty good card. We have Jacare Souza against Derek Brunson, and we're just going to get right into it. And the first fight of the night is Niko Price, and Niko Price is going to be fighting George Sullivan, and George Sullivan is coming off quite a long layoff, probably about 2 years. USADA suspension. He's 36, so he's one of these guys that we've been pinpointing in terms of older guys coming off USADA suspensions to really just see how they look and then potentially bet against them, because it seems like it's really a big issue for these older guys coming off the USADA suspensions. But George Sullivan was even in the past, I never thought that he was an incredible fighter, but he is a veteran, and his striking is so-so. He has a, right hand cocked, ready to throw with some decent power, but no knockout power, no crazy power, anything like that. And I just think he gets pushed back against the cage a lot, and when he's fighting off his back foot, he gets uncomfortable. He throws some leg kicks, body kicks, but everything's a bit stiff, and he stands very tall. I think it makes him easy to hit. Like in his last fight against Alexander Yakovlev, he got clipped and knocked out. Off of his back, I didn't see him really going for much. He doesn't have any submissions off his back or on top, really. Gives up his back. Tim Means submitted him, and Tim Means isn't really known for his grappling acumen, so that was really something that I looked at. And Dominic Waters also took his back for a long period of time in that third round. He gets tired as the fight goes on, but his best work is definitely when he gets on top and he can, get his ground and pound going. He definitely has some nasty elbows. He can cut you up and hurt you bad. He's done that to a few guys where he gets him down and really wears on him, and you could see that it puts him in a precarious position for the rest of the fight. But Niko Price is a guy who he was a hot prospect, man, but in his last fight he came up against a guy who was just a little bit better. Vicente Luque was cleaner with the striking, cleaner with his grappling, and hurt him on the feet and submitted him. And, it was a pretty dominant loss for him. He was outclassed in that fight, but this is definitely a step back for him. And prior to that, he had 3 KOs, or 3 finishes, 2 KOs, and a submission of Brandon Thatch. So he definitely has power in his hands, and he comes forward, man. He puts heavy pressure on you. He makes you feel him in the cage, Whether you win or lose, you're definitely going to know you were in a fight when you fought Niko Price, for sure. And he'll attack with heavy kicks. And he's a little more fluid than Sullivan, but he's still kind of stiff, too. But he closes the distance well, and I think he should have Sullivan on the back foot all day, Good forward movement. He has a good takedown game as well. Good subs from top position, he arm triangle with Brandon Thatch. He's fought more recently, and he's fought the much better competition in the UFC, and I'm going to go with Niko Price here, and I'm actually going to say this is my most confident pick of the night, so I'm going to say Niko Price, and I think he's going to get it done by first round KO. So I just don't think George Sullivan's going to be able to come back and fix the holes in his game and just be competitive with a guy like Niko Price, who's, getting better, younger, he's hungry. He's a guy who's, someone to look out for. So I definitely think that Niko Price is going to get it done in that one. And we're going to move on to another guy who's just, peaking at the right time, has a lot of grit and heart, man, and that's Vinc Pichel, and he's fighting against Joaquim Silva. And anyone knows about Vinc Pichel, man, he's been through a lot. He's been through some crazy injuries, man, fought back not once but twice, where he's taken multiple years off of his career due to injuries, and that just shows really extreme dedication, extreme work ethic to just come back, to be able to come back 2 times after getting that much time off, and to come back and be effective. His KO over Damian Brown was one of his best performances in the UFC, but this is definitely a fun fight right now at 155 pounds for sure. Neto BJJ is also a good striker. He's fast, powerful, KO power. When he has you against the fence, he'll unload with big combinations, left and right hooks to the head and the body. He has a solid uppercut as well, nice kicks. He'll unload with some really nice body kicks, man. But he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, and he kind of gets too complacent off of his back. He'll attack with triangles, arm bars, but he can be controlled, and he had a war in his last fight with Reza Madadi, who was on short notice. He retired after, so it kind of shows the level of fighter that was able to take him down and kind of really put him in some bad positions. And nothing against Reza, but he's seen his better days, But Vinc Pichel is going to be much bigger, I think, and definitely has that one-punch KO power. Like I said, he forwarded Damian Brown in his last fight. He was looking pretty slick on the feet, countering, throwing leg kicks, looking more fluid than he did before he left with his injuries. And before he's kind of grinding wrestler, wear you out, finish takedowns, heavy ground and pound. He's always had the big power in his hand, and he'll look for submissions, He had a great uppercut. He was switching stances, moving backwards against Damian Brown, and landed that uppercut, so he definitely has an educated uppercut. Super intense, man, he's a guy that definitely goes in there trying to hurt you. He means business. And I just think that both these guys are good, but he has more power and the ability to take down Neto BJJ, and I think along with that good chin that he has, I just think that he's going to be able to take down Neto. I think that he's going to be able to hold him down, and I think that he's going to be able to actually land some pretty significant ground and pound and make it a pretty difficult fight for Joaquim Silva, and I actually think he can get him out of there first or second round with ground and pound, and that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that he wins by first round ground and pound for Vinc Pichel. So that's another fight that I'm decently confident about, but I wouldn't say I was nearly as confident as I was in terms of Niko Price. But moving on, and now we have the first women's fight at night, and it's against Justine Kish and Ji Young Kim. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct, but Kim's a long striker, and she's moving down to 125. And, she'll have an 8-inch reach advantage in this fight, and she does try to stay long with her punches. She likes to double up, triple up that right hand. Straight right hand, good timing with her uppercuts. And when she gets confident, she really starts to turn it up with her striking, forward pressure. She has a pretty good chin, decent cardio, decent body lock takedown, but she was controlled against the cage for a long period of time against Lucy Pudilova. And, she was too relaxed, wanting to stay pushed against the fence. She didn't utilize the greatest footwork either. Her reach could be a lot more pronounced if she got better at her footwork, but, she likes to stand in front of you a lot. She doesn't have that big of power on her shots, but she's a veteran in MMA, and, she's older, so I think she definitely knows that she has a short window here in the UFC, and she wants to do anything with it. She's going to have to, capitalize now. But she still kind of only throws one-punch combinations. Doesn't really throw many combos. But, Justine Kish, man, she's one of those girls that's just like a cyborg, moves forward, never gets tired. Iron chin, she showed she would never tap, against Felice Herrig. She decided she'd rather, shit her pants to tap, so fuck. But extremely physically strong, man. She's able to, muscle herself out of positions on the ground just purely with strength. She'll attack with some submissions herself, arm bars, guillotines. She isn't fundamentally sound at all on the feet either, but, as a Muay Thai champion, you could tell that she did it with, sheer volume, grit, and, power on her feet, heavy power on all her shots, doesn't stop coming forward. You could hit her with anything but the kitchen sink, and she'll just keep coming, and, throw some brutal leg kicks, throw 3-4 leg kicks in a row, great body kicks. Really good in the Muay Thai clinch, attacking with knees, hard elbows. But she doesn't really have the greatest defense, like I said, she gets tagged, kind of walks through her shots to land her own. But, she just seems like someone that just will be a little bit too physical and a little bit too much pressure striking for Kim. I think that she's going to be able to walk her down, and Kim isn't going to be able to have the power to stop Kish from coming forward, and I think Kish might have some success in the clinch as well. So I'm going to say Kish wins a decision here, and that's another fight that I'm pretty confident in as well. I'm sorry, but alright, and then up next we have another women's fight, and this one is Randa Markos against Juliana Lima. And this was actually a pretty close fight. Juliana Lima shows a lot of good things in her fights, but she just can't seem to, put it together perfectly in the UFC. She'll show some good striking, she'll show some good defense off of her back, a good top game, decent takedowns, but she doesn't seem to blend it together against, the top tier just that well, and that's why she's been, alternating wins and losses throughout her career. But she's definitely, tough matchup, someone that's definitely someone you have to work with. And then, Randa is a girl where, she's a little bit less athletic, I think, a little bit more plodding on her feet than Lima, but she's gotten much better at that, improved footwork, good chin. She likes to walk through shots, tenacious, solid takedowns, good off of her back as well. Against Carla Esparza, she was putting her in a lot of difficult positions, putting her in kind of a crucifix off of her back. I think she's going to have much better cardio than Juliana Lima, but I think Lima's going to be, more athletic, a little lighter on her feet, good kicks. And like I said, she has good defense on her back with her jiu-jitsu, but she seems a little bit too content to stay on her back and doesn't really attack with submission. She's very much defensive and questionable takedown defense. She seems to slow down in her fights as well. And, she's someone that seems like she could beat the lower tier, but once she gets to that level, the top 15, top 10 level, she seems to really, falter. And I think Randa's at that level. I think that she's showed improvement, even though she's 3-4 in the UFC. She's recently showed some improvement. She was good. She had a good hard fight against Alexa Grasso. She had, a good performance where she upset Carla Esparza as well, who has a win over Lima and a pretty dominant, easy win where she was able to take Lima down basically at will. And, Randa did a much better job in the, scrambling, the takedowns, and the grappling than Lima did. And I think that that's going to happen again. I think she's going to be able to grind her out with takedowns. I think the stand-up is going to be pretty close, maybe edging towards Lima, but the takedown and the pressure game is going to be enough for Randa, and I think she's going to be able to get the decision victory here against Juliana Lima. And then up next, we have another this actually is a really fun women's fight, and this is Romero Borella against Caitlin Chookagian. And these are two people at this new division, 125, that really are factors, right away, where I think Borella, who already has a win at 125, is already, really significant prospect. She's had some of the best ground game for a woman that I think I've seen in the UFC, just very very technical, and she's very physically strong. On the feet, she still is learning, she's long for the division. She likes to circle the cage, but she does get her back stuck against the cage a lot, and she doesn't throw as much as you would like, not as much volume as, you see from typical fighters in the UFC like Caitlin Chookagian, but, she likes that straight right hand, and, she'll throw some leg kicks, but they're pretty stiff, but her ground game, man, she times takedowns well, and, when she gets on top, she's had one of the best ground games I've ever seen. Like I said, she's really methodical, but she's aggressive, and she'll move to a dominant position like the mount, start to put heavy pressure on you. She also likes to, get side control as well, trap your arm, get you in that crucifix position, hit you with big elbows, trap your arm with her leg and mount as well, and opens up striking opportunities really well on the ground, and she's someone that puts a lot of heavy pressure on you, like, in the mount, and makes you give her your back. And then she has a great rear naked choke. She's up there training at Coconut Creek, up there with Amanda Nunes, Nina Ansaroff, Joanna, a lot of really good women, I'm sorry. She has good cardio as well, and, since she moved to the U.S., that performance against Ferreira was just dominant, man, and you saw that Ferreira is definitely dangerous on the feet against Jessica Eye, but I think that if Borella gets on top of anyone in that 125-pound division, man, they're in trouble. She's either going to submit him or she's going to really put him in some bad positions and wear him out. But, Chookagian's well-rounded. She's definitely better on the feet than Mara. She has a nice left leg. She'll kick to the body and the head, and that's kind of her most dangerous shot. She rocked Liz Carmouche with the head kick. And, she likes to throw the jab out there, long punches. She likes to try to move, stay away, good footwork. But her athleticism isn't the best, so I think it's kind of easy to close the distance on her. she does have good cardio, and when she gets going, she kind of gets a little bit more fluid, a little bit less stationary, and gets her footwork going. But she'll attack with takedowns as well. But just really to get points, break up the rhythm. She's okay off of her back, but in this fight, she definitely doesn't want to get taken down. She wants to be sticking and moving, staying on the outside, not standing in front of Borella, and Borella's going to be trying to take her down. And I just think, Borella's the better athlete. I think she's much more explosive. I think she's going to find the takedown, man. I think all she needs is one takedown. And I think when she does, she's either going to, hurt and wear on Chookagian, take her down, hit her with some big elbows, something like that, or she's going to take her back and tap her out, man. And I'm pretty confident in this one. When I saw the line, I was very much surprised that Chookagian's a pretty solid favorite. And I'm going to go with Romero Borella in the upset, man. And I think that this is a fight that I'm going to be looking to bet on for sure. And, I really think Borella is definitely someone to look for, to maybe be a contender for that 125 belt. Katlyn Chookagian, too. I think both these people are in, that top 5, top 7 range for this 125-pound division. And then up next, you have the first fight on the main card, man, and it's Drew Dober against Frank Camacho. And this is an interesting matchup. Both these guys are 155-pounders in the UFC, but they're moving up to 170. Drew Dober, I remember when he fought in his last fight, California was almost forcing him to move up to 170 because he actually weighed in at 185 on fight night. So that's crazy amount of weight to gain, 35 pounds. And so he's moving up to 170. And everyone knows Frank Camacho's had a lot of trouble making that lightweight limit. He missed it again in his last fight, and he's missed it a lot of times in his career. But he did come in the UFC fighting at welterweight against Lim. So this is going to be a second fight at welterweight in the UFC. But, I mean, he comes to bang, man, and he likes to have wars for the fans, man. I think he's going to be someone fun to watch for a long time. Great right hand, big power. He could change the fight with one shot for sure, Good job of leaping in with the left hook when you're against the cage. He cites to leap in with the left hook to set up his right hook. Walks forward, puts pressure on you. He'll change it up, throw the hooks to the body as well. Good timing with it, good counters with the overhand right. He doesn't really throw kicks or go for takedowns, so he does get a little bit predictable after a while, and better strikers could definitely piece him up. He's very heavy on that front leg, and Jing Liang was able to really beat it up in their fight, and he does have a great chin, the fighter spirit. He'll let out some pretty crazy, death cries. He'll call his opponent into the fight. Definitely ready to be a war, and he's a jiu-jitsu world champion at the brown belt level, so he's definitely good on top. But on his back, seemed to have some serious issues, man. He almost got submitted in his last fight, and too impatient trying to stand back up, giving his back, man. And he has a great chin. Questionable takedown defense, but it's solid, it's pretty good. He has some cardio issues. He slows down after round 1. Did it at 172, so I'm not sure if the weight cut is definitely the reason why. But he likes to push through, he's still dangerous till the end. Fun fighter to watch, and like I said, he could be giving us some fun fights for a long time, and this is going to be Drew Dober's first fight at 170 in the UFC, but he was definitely a massive lightweight, so I don't think the size difference is going to be much. If anything, Dober will be bigger. And Dober's a Muay Thai world champion. Really nice leg kicks, really accurate with his straight left hand. Good feints, in and out movement. Really powerful left hook. He one-punch KO'd Josh Berkman. Has a couple highlight reel KOs. KO'd Jace Gonzalez as well. Improved grappling. Big, strong, explosive guy. He's able to shoot in, get double legs, or get the clinch, get the body lock takedowns. And on top, he's strong, man. He'll hold position. But off of his back, he is uncomfortable and he could get tapped, But he's more likely to go for takedowns than Camacho. And I actually think he'll have early success going for takedowns and getting takedowns. If he doesn't, then I think that Dober's going to be in trouble. But I do think that Dober's going to be able to take him down early, control him, maybe wear his arms out a little bit. And I think he's going to be beating up that front leg as well of Camacho. And, Drobo's early been KO'd once in his career. And I think he has better cardio. He's more diverse. And both these guys could definitely one-punch KO each other. But I'm definitely going to go with Drew Dober by decision here. And this is one of my least confident picks, but I'm going to go with Drew Dober. And then up next we have Bektic, who's a big time prospect. He's fighting against Godofredo Pepe, and I'm a big fan of Godofredo, but this is a rough matchup for my boy, man. Mersad's a very well-rounded prospect at 145. Super athletic, good movement, really technical, solid striking. Good footwork. He uses that to set up his hands on the feet. He lands clean combinations. Left hand to right hook. Really powerful, good timing on his takedowns. He'll take you down. He'll get the side saddle. He'll rain down some big elbows. And, he could take you down with different ways. He likes to grind you against the cage. Likes to go for doubles, singles, body locks. Young and improving, man. Really high ceiling, in my opinion. He sometimes seems like he doesn't feel comfortable on the feet, even though he's dominating the fight on the feet. So I think with time, that'll start to change with more cage time. Maybe he'll start to get a little bit more comfortable because he does put himself in some disadvantageous positions, forcing the grappling at times. He did that against Elkins, and that's what got him finished. He was dominating him on the feet, put him in the grappling. I think it was a little bit because of fatigue as well, but everyone knows how Elkins could take a beating, man. That guy's legendary, and but he does need to be careful putting his neck out there with Godofredo Pepe, because Pepe will definitely dive on it. He has great submissions. But, on the feet, I think he's definitely going to get lit up. He's really wild. He goes for a lot of, really crazy stuff, flying knees, one-punch KOs, and super athletic, so he can get you with that one-punch KO if you're not minding your P's and Q's. The stand-up is dangerous, and he's very good off of his back in the guard, attacking with submissions. If he wins, I think that's where he'll get Bektic. I think he's going to catch him with submission earlier, KO. But in reality, man, Bektic is just too good, and Godofredo's taking a lot of damage, man. He got KO'd by Felipe Arachas, KO'd by Sam Cecilia, dropped a lot of times by Burgos in the last fight. And I think Bektic's going to take him down in that first round and ground and pound him and take him out. So I'm going to go with Bektic here, and I think it's going to be a dominant win. I think he's going to get back on track after that loss. He's definitely someone that we have to look into and look forward to for, someone that's very much going to be a factor for years to come in that division for sure. And then up next, we have a really, really fun fight with Eric Koch gets Bobby Green. Bobby Green and Eric Koch are both strikers, both really entertaining guys, but they've kind of had their careers barred by injuries and activity. Bobby Green has been a lot more active lately, but Eric Koch especially, he's taken a couple very long layoffs. But, Eric Koch likes to use a lot of movement. He stays on the outside, lands some fast straight punches, powerful 1-2 combination. He could drop people with that. And he has a tricky kicky game, good left high kick. When he hurts you, he's definitely a finisher. And he likes to go into your full guard, try to submit you, try to finish you with ground and pound. He really likes to go for that rear naked choke. Goes for body lock takedowns. And on top, he's solid. He could control position, but on bottom, you could tell he definitely had big deficiencies against Clay Guido. He was dominated, showed very little. He did show he had a really solid gas take. He has KO power, especially early. He's fast and crisp, but he doesn't deal with pressure well and people that moving forward. And Bobby Green's going to be someone that's in his face all night, Bobby Green's a stance-switching fighter, good boxing skills, likes to keep his hand down, use a lot of head movement, a lot of shoulder rolling. Solid takedowns as well, big slams. He has a great jab, and he'll follow that jab with a very hard left hook, He's been looking like progressively more like himself in his return, He had a really awesome fight against Venado, which I think he won, Granite chin, he really likes to roll with his shots really well, hard to hit, extremely fast. And he's been doing a good job recently in his fights of getting double unders and slowing the fight down, getting his opponents against the cage and landing some nice elbows in the clinch, controlling his opponents there. And he does a good job of exiting that with hard elbows. That's something that I think he should implement here against Eric Koch. And he's extremely hard to take down, harder to hold down, man. This guy's exceptional scrambler. Really does a good job of slamming you as well. And I just think he should be able to stack up control in that position against the cage, against Koch, wear him down, land that stiff jab, knees, elbows. And I think that he's going to be able to wear on Koch. And I think he's going to show a vintage Bobby Green here, man. I think he's going to land, jab, left hook combination, drop him, and finish him in the second round. And I'm going to go with Bobby Green. I think he's going to cement himself back in the UFC. I know he just signed a new contract. He's going to be highly motivated. Eric Koch, someone that I think maybe is fading a little bit. He's still young in his career, but he's had a lot of injuries. And he's been TKO'd quite a bit of times now. He got TKO'd by Rick Lamas, got TKO'd by Darren Cruikshank. So, I just think that Bobby Green's on the way up and Eric Koch's on the way down. And I'm going to go with Bobby Green by a second round finish. And then up next, you have another fight that's, very much pretty straightforward fight. And this is Gregor Gillespie against Jordan Rinaldi. And if the odds were better, I would say this is my lock of the night. But just because of the odds, I'm going to keep with Niko Price. But Rinaldi is someone that, don't think he should be at this level. He fought in his last fight against Alvaro Herrera, who is another guy that's just very green, very, non-UFC level. And he won that fight by a Darce choke, I'm pretty sure, not a Darce choke, a Von Flue choke, on the ground, because Herrera just wasn't very technically sound. He held on to the guillotine, and Rinaldi was able to get that Von Flue, but he actually was rocked in that fight early, and Alvaro Herrera is one of the worst fighters I've ever seen in the UFC. And he was dominated by Abel Trujillo through wrestling and through, just pressure. Even though he had his moments in that fight, we've seen what Abel's been looking like recently. He's definitely lost a step, and he gave it to Rinaldi. Rinaldi could not stop the takedowns, and gets a guy like Gregor Gillespie who comes forward. Really nice job of faking the level changes and coming back up with strikes. Really nice job of just being really tenacious, coming forward, not carrying. He's able to take some shots, get in a brawl. And, I just really like Gregor Gillespie, man. I think he's going to be able to take it to Jordan Rinaldi pretty easily. Take him down, just be able to do whatever he wants. And I don't think Rinaldi's just at that level athletically. I don't think he's at that level, fighting-wise either. And I think Gillespie's going to get a first-round TKO, man. I think he's going to either be able to KO him on the feet, or he's going to take him down to do it. And I'm going to go with Gregor Gillespie in a pretty dominant performance there. And then up next, you have a pretty fun fight. Dennis Bermudez gets Andre Fili. And this is the third crack for Team Alpha Male against Dennis Bermudez. In his last fight, he fought against Darren Elkins, who's been streaky. And I actually thought he won that fight, to be honest with you. But they gave the decision to Elkins. It was a close fight. But he's also fought against Clay Guida as well, who was also trained out there at Team Alpha Male. So they're definitely familiar with Dennis Bermudez's style, But Dennis Bermudez is a pretty solid kickboxer now. He's obviously a wrestler first, but he's gotten better with the striking, and this is a fun matchup, He's someone that comes forward very aggressively, and, he's actually has some solid overhead right. He could rock you with it. Fast kicks to the legs. He'll fake level changes, come back over the top with the right hand. Very fast explosion with his in and out movement. He kind of relies on that to hit you and not get hit. His grappling is very good. Relentless chain wrestler. And if you can't take you down, he'll grind you against the fence. He does a good job of taking you down at the end of his strength combinations. Good ground and pound. He'll cut you up with the elbows. Stays active on the ground. Hard to get up off bottom on that guy. Should have a major strength advantage in this matchup. And solid jiu-jitsu. He does a good job of, getting advantageous submissions and defending subs. And, the one thing that's really been a problem with him is his chin, man. He's been dominating a lot of these fights and, gotten caught. He was winning the fight. He rocked, Korean Zombie in his last fight, got caught, KO'd. Same thing against Jeremy Stevens, caught and finished. And, so that's happened to him in a lot of his fights. But I think that he doesn't have the worst chin, man. He definitely took a lot of shots against, guys like, Tatsuya Kawajiri, guys like, Darren Elkins. And, he didn't go down. He took a lot of shots against, Chan Sung Jung too prior to getting knocked out. I just think that it was great timing by him. And the TKO by Jeremy Stevens, anyone would have got TKO'd by that knee. That was a very just great time knee. But, Andre Fili's a guy who's alternated wins and losses, so far. And he's coming off a win, against Artem Lobov. He's long and athletic. He has solid striking. Tries to use his reach well. He'll throw a jab down the middle. Solid combination. Really nice head kick. He's fast in the pocket. At times he can get slow and sloppy with that jab, though. Get countered over top with it. But he does have good cardio, solid chin. Decent offensive and defensive wrestling skills. He has problems when he gets walked down aggressively, though, and at times he can be hit with overhands, but his most dangerous strike is definitely that head kick. He finished Bermudez off with it, dropped Lobov with it, and he's definitely at his best when he's coming forward, pushing the pace, dictating the fight. But when he gets pushed back and forced to work off his back foot, he becomes a lot more hittable. And Bermudez is just a physical specimen, a great athlete, good at blending the striking and wrestling game, and he's actually got a pretty good striking game now. That overhead right is pretty dangerous. And I think he should win this fight. I think that he's going to get a TKO, actually. I'm going to say Bermudez is going to be wearing on him first couple rounds. Land some big shots, be able to take him down. Fili's going to be feeling it. He's going to be, showing in his face that maybe he doesn't want to be in there anymore. Maybe he's breaking just a little bit. And in that third round, I think Bermudez is going to be able to take him down, finish him with ground and pound. But like I said, it all comes down to Bermudez's chin, man. Bermudez's chin has been tested the last couple of times and it hasn't passed the test, but if this fight is just skill for skill, Bermudez should definitely win this one. And Bermudez is someone that's still a threat at the top of the division, man. I think that he's someone that, as long as that chin holds up, he's a tough matchup for anyone, coming in with his full skill set. But up next we have Derek Brunson against Rinaldi, Jacare, Souza. And this is a rematch, but when they first fought, it was a long time ago. It was back in Strikeforce, and Derek Brunson just wasn't ready for that moment, but now that they're both coming back, now they're both in the UFC, they're both beasts, and this is the perfect time to match them up again, Brunson's coming off that great win over Lyoto Machida where he KO'd him in the first few minutes in Brazil, shut that crowd down, man, and that's Derek Brunson's game, man, that first round KO, man. He's done it so many times now in the UFC. I think he has six consecutive of his last 6 wins are all by KO in the first round. I mean, that's some pretty crazy stuff right there. And his one loss to Robert Whittaker, and then a very, very questionable decision loss to Anderson Silva. So 7-1 in his last 10 fights, or his last 8 fights. I'm sorry. And the one loss, they both had the mutual loss to Robert Whittaker. But I actually thought Derek Brunson had a very weird game plan in that fight. I think he came in there thinking he had to have the finish to get a title shot. Didn't show his patience in that fight. Was very over aggressive, but he did hurt Whittaker multiple times. And it was a close fight. It was a fun fight. And it was back and forth. And Brunson showed that he's still very dangerous. And Whittaker could KO anyone with that head kick. That's what started off against Jacare. That's what started off against Brunson. And, Whittaker's one of the best in the world right now. And that shouldn't take anything away from Derek Brunson, man. That left hand is just a thing of beauty. If he catches you with that left hand, then you're going to sleep, man. He's extremely explosive. He can come in and catch you with that counter punch just out of nowhere. The way he did to Machida. Comes in very fast. I think he's very deceptive in the way, and the distance that he could hit you. I think some guys think that he can't close that distance that fast. Can't hit them. They're in a safe spot. And, boom, they're laying on the ground, twitching on the canvas, So Derek Brunson is a wrestler first, and we're only talking about his striking. So that just shows how well-rounded, how dangerous of a guy he is. He's going to be really hard for Jacare to take him down. Jacare definitely has gotten better with his takedowns and his wrestling over the years, but it's still very basic still. Comes in with a single leg, tries to clinch you up, take you down with a body lock. But a lot of it is just very simple, and I think that Brunson's going to be seeing it coming, man, and I really think that Jacare's been looking rather stiff in his last few fights on the feet, man. Against Tim Bosch, he was getting touched up on the feet a bit. Against Vitor as well, man, he didn't look extremely comfortable on the feet. Against Robert Whittaker, obviously he got finished, Against Romero, he got rocked, hurt bad in that first round, put down. And, I just think that Derek Brunson's going to be able to find that chin, man. I think he's going to hit that left hand. And I think he's going to knock out Jacare in that first round. I mean, everyone knows Jacare's submission game is just incredible. If he gets it on the ground, Derek Brunson's obviously in massive trouble. Anyone that's on the bottom of Jacare is, in for a world of hurt, man. But Jacare, if you look at the level of his guys that he's been competing against recently, since his last win against Gegard in 2014, that was really his last big time win, man. Ever since then, he fought Chris Camozzi, who, no disrespect to Chris Camozzi, but, Chris Camozzi is a guy that's, on a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC, really a journeyman. He's not someone that should be fighting the upper echelon, and, fought against Vitor Belfort, who's very old. This was 2016 Vitor. It's not like he's fighting TRT Vitor or anything like that. This was, Vitor coming off, he was coming off the win against Dan Henderson, but it still wasn't, it wasn't Vitor, man. And then, Tim Bosch, man. Tim Bosch was his other win. So, since 2014, his 3 wins have been Chris Camozzi, 2016 Vitor Belfort, and Tim Bosch. Those 3 wins they're not on the level of Derek Brunson. They're not on the level of a Robert Whittaker, a Yoel Romero. And it seems like, Jacare, for everything that he's done, he's a great fighter. He's had an amazing career, both in jiu-jitsu and in MMA. He's one of the all-time greats. But, the UFC seems like they stalled him out, man. They didn't want to give him that big fight for so long during his prime. They kept, just kind of pushing it because maybe he didn't speak English. He wasn't the easiest to market. Whatever it was, man, something about his style, anything, whatever it was, seemed like they never wanted to give him that push, when he was, in his prime, knocking out the Yushido Kamis of the world, submitting Gegard very quickly, coming to the UFC off KO of Derek Brunson, off beating Ed Herbert, finishing Robbie Lawler, beating Tim Kennedy. They didn't want to get behind him at that point. And, after that loss to, Whittaker, I'm not sure where his head's at. He's 38 years old now. And, as much as it pains me to say it, man, I'm going to say that Derek Brunson gets another first-round KO over a Brazilian legend in the first round. And, we might have to start calling Derek Brunson the Brazilian killer or something too, man, like Alex Steveley, back in the day. Because he's hunting him down, man. He's putting it to him, and I think he's going to happen again. But, alright, guys, so far this year, we're 2-2 on the Parlay of the Week, so I'm going to try to keep it going. I'm going to give you guys a Parlay of the Week for this week. And, actually, my most confident pick is, as well as obviously going to be in the parlay, but my most confident pick is Niko Price. That's going to be the first leg of the parlay. And then I'm going to say add Vinc Pichel into the parlay and Romero Borella. So this is going to be a pretty nice one if it hits. I'm just added in an underdog pick, and Vinc Pichel is a pick him at -110. So, and also Niko Price isn't too bad. I think he's just about a little over 2-1. So if that hits, it'll be a pretty solid payout. And I think that is a pretty good shot of hitting there, man. And I really, really like the chances of Borella. So I think that keep that in mind for an upset pick as well. But all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show, and subscribe for more. We really had a good start to the year. I've been getting some see with my subscribers. Last week I forgot to add the tags to my videos, so didn't get quite as many views. I'm a little disappointed by that, but that's not going to happen again. And we're going to keep it rolling, man. And hope you guys enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more.